Hello and welcome to Founder Voices of Women's History Month. I'm Lauren Conaway, founder and CEO of Innovate Her KC. And for those of you who follow Innovator, I think you know by now that one of our primary focuses is on celebrating and elevating women in entrepreneurship. Now, we have with us here today someone who also shares that mission with us. We have Garnet Heraman, managing partner of Aperture Venture Capital. And Garnet, I just want to thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us. Thank you for being such an incredible ally and co-conspirator. Thank you for everything that you do to support women-led innovation.
Thank you, Lauren. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Well, I want to ask the super pressing question, what is Aperture Venture Capital?
Well, Aperture VC is a newly launched fund. We focus on the intersection of fintech and fintech adjacent spaces with diversity. And by diversity, we mean female founders, folks of color, African-American, Latin American founders, all of the groups that have historically had issues with access to capital in the VC world, as it's been known for the last 30 years. Aperture is further differentiated because it's backed by some of the world's biggest financial brands, like Bank of America, Progressive Insurance, PayPal, FIS, Truist. And we try to do something a little bit different than other VC funds, which is create these collisions between our portfolio companies and these large corporations to the benefit of female founders and diverse founders. That's us.
I love that. So you're not just throwing cash at a situation, but actively assisting and supporting and offering not only that access to capital, but support for these founders. That is incredible. How does that feel?
That feels great. We have a quick saying that your folks might like to know about. We think of ourselves as bringing the best of diverse startups to corporations and bringing the best of corporations to the diverse startups in our portfolio. And in a nutshell, that's the raison d'etre. That's the purpose of Aperture right there.
Well, and I'm going to ask you to delve a little bit more deeply into that. I'm always really interested to hear this, but why is it so important to you, and why is it so important to Aperture VC to support female founders and female entrepreneurship?
Well, my co-founder, William Crowder, and I have both lived the experiences of folks of color trying to make our way in this VC world as it's historically been constructed, and it hasn't been easy. And so when we look at some of the lived experiences of female founders, what we started seeing was basically exclusion from so many areas of business, exclusion from entrepreneurship, difficulty in access to capital, the gender pay gap, which makes absolutely no sense to us at Aperture. And the main reason is just intellectual and analytical reasons why it doesn't make any sense. There's research out there that shows that female CEOs of public corporations typically outperform the S&P 500. There's other research out there that shows that female-led startups, with all things held equal, except for the fact that they're the female CEO, that company is going to produce more revenues. There's even more research out there, and this is fairly recent research that shows that gender diverse teams led by a woman in particular, are more productive than teams that don't have women on them. So, when we thought about the investment thesis, the fund thesis of Aperture, we basically settled on this conclusion that one of the best ways to make money, to create gains for our LPs in the fund, those corporations that I mentioned earlier, is to back more versus fewer female founders. And we'd like to think that we're putting our money where our mouths are. Right now, our portfolio is 50% female founders. And as far as new deals coming into the portfolio, 66% of the new deals that we're basically at term sheet stage with are all female founders and have at least one female founder. So, trying to walk the talk in ways that haven't been done before.
Absolutely. And that is absolutely incredible to hear. For those of you at home who don't know, there are some pretty dismal statistics that can be attached to venture capital and female funded business. Something like 2.7% of venture capital funding goes to female founded startups. That number becomes even more dismal when you start to think about intersectional founders, women of color. I believe that the number is about 0.036% of VC funding went to startups founded by women of color. And that is it's a travesty, particularly when, as you say, there's an opportunity being missed here for profit all around. Also would like to add, the statistics show time and time again that when you offer women the opportunity to create generational wealth and you offer them opportunity, they have a greater tendency to invest back into their communities. And so we see that this saying, a rising tide lifts all boats, it really holds true. So we have an incredible opportunity here to support and promote and invest in women. And I think that that's kind of the takeaway that we want folks watching this, listening at home. That's the takeaway. This Women's History Month, please think of ways that you can invest in women, because it is to all of our gain, none of our detriment. And Garnet, I have to tell you, my friend, we are so grateful for folks like you who are leading that charge and making that possible.
Thank you, Lauren.
Absolutely.